Assalamualaikum and hi everyone, my name is Zarina Dewi and today in this video we'll be discussing one of the recent news that appeared on the Star News in this early March 2023. The news is about palm oil demand to rise in 2023 to 20 million tons. Demand for Malaysia's palm oil is set to increase to 19.85 million tons this year, driven by higher exports, particularly to India. This shift in demand from Indonesia to Malaysia is due to export restrictions in Indonesia. Malaysia's palm oil stocks are expected to be slightly higher than last year. Overall production will grow moderately by 2.6%, which is to 18.95 million tons. It is also reported in the news that India, the second largest palm oil consumer, plans to import 14.37 million tons of vegetable oils, with palm oil accounting for the majority. Palm oil prices have dropped, making it attractive for buyers. Globally, palm oil production will rise by 10%, while soybean demand will slightly decrease. So, what are the economics concepts that we can relate to this news? It is demand. So, what is demand? Demand refers to how much of a product or service people want to buy at a given price. It's about the willingness and ability of consumers to purchase something. Factors like price, income, and personal preferences influence demand. Demand helps us understand how much of a product will be bought in the market and how it changes with different prices. The law of demand is a basic rule in economics that says when the price of something goes up, people typically want to buy less of it. And when the price goes down, people usually want to buy more of it. For example, let's imagine a popular snack called yummy chips. Currently, yummy chips are priced at $2 per bag. At $2, a lot of people are willing to buy yummy chips, and 100 bags are sold per day. If the price of yummy chips drops to $1.50, according to the law of demand, more people will want to buy them because they are cheaper. So, the number of bags sold increases to 150 per day. Conversely, if the price of yummy chips increases to $2.50, fewer people will be willing to buy them because they are more expensive. The number of bags sold decreases to 80 per day. In simpler terms, when the price is lower, people tend to buy more, and when the price is higher, people tend to buy less. This is the basic principle behind the law of demand. The equilibrium point of demand, also known as market equilibrium, is the point where the quantity of a product or service demanded by consumers matches the quantity supplied by producers. At this point, there is no shortage or surplus in the market, and the price and quantity are stable. Take a look at this market demand and supply table. As we can see in the table, the market equilibrium is at 30 ringgit when both quantity demanded and supplied are equal. The equilibrium point is determined by the intersection of the demand curve and the supply curve. This shows that the amount of sellers who wants to sell is equal to the amount of buyers that want to buy. Any changes in demand or supply will cause shifts in the equilibrium point, leading to a new equilibrium price and quantity. A demand curve is a graphical representation that shows the relationship between the price of a product and the quantity demanded by consumers. It helps us understand how the quantity of a product changes as its price varies. On the demand curve, the vertical axis represents the price of the product, and the horizontal axis represents the quantity demanded. Each point on the curve represents a specific price-quantity combination. The demand curve is downward sloping, meaning that as the price of a product increases, the quantity demanded decreases, and as the price decreases, the quantity demanded increases. This reflects the basic principle of the law of demand. Now we're moving on to shift in demand curve. On the graph, the vertical axis represents the price of a product, and the horizontal axis represents the quantity demanded. The original demand curve, labeled D1, shows the initial relationship between price and quantity demanded. Now, suppose there is a shift in demand due to a change in one of the factors that affect demand. Let's use the example of a change in consumer preferences, where consumers develop a strong liking for the product. If consumer preferences shift in favor of the product, the demand curve will shift to the right, indicating an increase in demand. The new demand curve, labeled D2, lies to the right of the original curve. This shift means that at each price level, consumers are now willing to buy a greater quantity of the product. In other words, even at the same price as before, consumers demand more of the product because of their increased preference for it. Conversely, if there is a decrease in demand due to a change in another factor, such as a decrease in consumer income, the demand curve would shift to the left. The new demand curve, labeled D3, would lie to the left of the original curve. This leftward shift indicates that consumers are now willing to buy a smaller quantity of the product at each price level. It means that even at the same price as before, consumers demand less of the product due to their reduced purchasing power. What is consumer surplus? Consumer surplus is an economic measurement of consumer benefits resulting from market competition. A consumer surplus happens when the price that consumers pay for a product or service is less than the price they are willing to pay. So, how to calculate consumer surplus? Referring to the graph here, the point where the demand and supply meet is the equilibrium price. The area above the supply level and below the equilibrium price is called product surplus, and the area below the demand level and above the equilibrium price is the consumer surplus. For example, suppose that John wants to purchase a high-end smartphone with a large display, advanced camera features, and ample storage capacity. He has a budget of $1,000 and has been researching different models in the market. However, he comes across a limited time promotion at an authorized retailer where his desired smartphone is priced at just $600. Now, let's apply the formula for calculating consumer surplus. Consumer surplus is highest product price consumers are ready to invest minus market price. The highest product price consumers are ready to invest is $1,000 while the market price is $600. When $1,000 minus $600, we get $400, which is the consumer surplus. To conclude, demand represents the relationship between the price of a good or service and the quantity consumers are willing and able to purchase at that price. Generally, as the price of a good or service decreases, the quantity demanded increases and vice versa. This inverse relationship is known as the law of demand. Now, it's time for self-reflection. Firstly, I think it's really important to adopt fair pricing. Islamic economics promotes the concept of fair pricing. It discourages any form of exploitation or unjust pricing practices such as monopolistic behavior, price manipulation, or deceptive practices. Prices should be determined through free and fair market mechanisms with a focus on ensuring equitable distribution and avoiding any undue advantage for either buyers or sellers. Secondly, balancing needs and wants. Islam encourages us as Khalifah to strike a balance between needs and wants. While demand for basic necessities is recognized and encouraged, excessive and extravagant desires are discouraged. This moderation in consumption aligns with the concept of avoiding waste, being content with what is sufficient, and promoting social welfare and equity. And lastly, social responsibility. Islamic economics emphasizes the concept of social responsibility. Demand should not solely focus on individual desires, but also consider the broader societal impact. Consumers are encouraged to consider the welfare of others, avoid harmful or unethical products, and support goods and services that promote the well-being of society and the environment. So that's all for this video. Thanks for watching. Bye!